Hello learners, welcome to this session. This topic is related to the program which is launched in January 2025, Postgraduate Diploma in Waste Management. The course which is relevant to the topic is Overview of Waste Management. So basically this course will give you an understanding about the waste types, the sources of the waste, and what could be the solutions, or you can say talking about the waste management, the overview. So in this, one of the important topic and which is of a concern today is domestic hazardous waste. So in today's session, we will know more about what is domestic hazardous waste, what comes into it, what are the characteristics as an individual, as a society, what we can do to minimize the risks which are associated with domestic hazardous waste. So let us begin the session. Learners, first of all, let us look into the term domestic hazardous waste. This is very interesting because when we talk about domestic, it means that it is in our homes. It is related to household. Means everybody, whatever the profession we are in, wherever we are living, we are exposed to it. Because it is domestic, it is what we call it in Hindi, it is gharelu. And hazardous, which is toxic, which is detrimental to our health, which may cause various diseases. So that means there are certain types of the waste which are there in our homes, which are indoors. We expose ourselves daily to them, and they lead to various types of health disorders because they are toxic, because they are hazardous. So going into the definition part of it. See, solid waste management rules were amended in 2016. They were formed in 2000 and after 16 years they were amended, and according to Solid Waste Management Rules 2016, domestic hazardous waste include, now see what is there in it: discarded paint drums, pesticide cans, CFL bulbs, tube lights, expired medicines, broken mercury thermometers, used batteries, used needles and syringes, and contaminated gauge generated at household levels. The list is exhaustive, and when you look at this list and when you see what is there in our homes, you find yes, there are sometimes the broken CFL bulbs, the tube lights are there, thermometers are broken, we have many expired medicines in our homes, and paint, the used paints or the leftover paints, we are exposed to them. They are hazardous. Now, there are certain categories of the waste which are not included in domestic hazardous waste. There is a separate category. For example, the sanitary waste. The waste in which the body fluids are there. They are also very, you can call them, they are also very contaminated, and electronic waste. When you look at this, the electronic waste also contains various types of substances which are hazardous in nature, but according to the solid waste management rules, there is a separate category of electronic waste. There are different rules which are guiding the electronic waste management. And what is so special about the sanitary waste is that the domestic hazardous waste, the other examples which you see, for example, the paints or the batteries, or the tube lights, or the mercury which is there in the thermometers. Now these all types of the waste comprises of the substances which are very reactive, or which may, suppose they may get ignited very easily, they are very corrosive. But the sanitary waste is not such reactive. Biologically it is contaminated, it is unsafe to mix it with other types of the waste, but it is not reactive. So because of which we have separate. That is why in the domestic hazardous waste, we are categorizing only those substances, those byproducts or those materials which contain lot of reactive elements in them. So that is why our floor cleaners, our disinfectants, all of these items which we are using in our homes on a regular basis to clean our homes basically, because while the cleaning process is done, it kills the germs, it kills the mosquitoes, it gives away the pests, but in this process, various types of chemicals are being released into the inside environments, and when they are left unattended to, they become a huge category of the domestic hazardous waste. Now, what are the properties of all these substances and why we are concerned about is this? One thing is very clear, that domestic hazardous waste cannot be treated in the same manner as the other municipal waste categories. As the other categories are there, they are special, because even if the fact is that they are generated in the small amounts as compared to the other waste streams, but they are very toxic. Once you come in contact, you may get burns, you may get irritations. If you inhale it, you may have some respiratory disorders immediately. You may get allergies, you may get eye irritations, skin rashes. There are causing the harm very instantly. So therefore, we must know about what are the properties of these hazardous waste. So some of the properties are, they are very corrosive. When we say corrosive, that means the pH is either less than 4 or it is more than 12. You use various chemicals in the dry cleaning sector. When we give our clothes for the dry cleaning or the bleaching agents, all these type of substances are very corrosive in nature. They erode the metals, they erode the fabric, and when they come in the contact with the human body parts, they cause various types of damages to our organs also. Then they are very reactive. They are reactive means that immediately the fumes will come, and you must have noticed when you use various floor cleaners or various disinfectants or bathroom cleaners in your home, when you apply them, there is a kind of a fume generation. Some gases are coming out. Some obnoxious smell will come. That means they are very reactive. They react with the metals in the nearby environment. They react with the air which is there. Their ignitability. They catch the fire very easily. For example, pesticide cans or the different petroleum products which are there in our homes. They catch fire deodorants. It's a very good example because it also catches fire very easily when it comes in the contact of the suitable appropriate conditions. So they are ignitable. There are various incidences where you come across that certain chemical leakage or anything led to the explosion of the fire and the tragedies thereof. They are very toxic. They cause damage to our organs. If repeatedly we are exposed to these chemicals in our environment, they may cause various types of diseases. They may cause various types of malfunctioning of the human body. The cases such as the eye irritations are there, or there is whitening of the hairs, or you can say reduced strength. All these things are very common and they are carcinogenic. What is alarming of these domestic hazardous waste is that they contain certain properties which are carcinogenic. If we are exposed to these domestic hazardous waste directly or indirectly, if the domestic hazardous waste gets mixed up with other kinds of the waste and enters into the food chain through one form or the other, either we inhale it or we ingest it or we come in contact with it through dermal absorption, and there are quite a incidence of cancers are very common. So it is carcinogenic. There are certain elements present in them which may cause various types of cancers in human beings, and it is ecotoxic. It has a negative influence on the environment. It leads to pollution in various forms. So it is not at all, because what happens, suppose we think of disposing our domestic as suppose used batteries, or if we have a leftover paint in our paint box and we would just want to we just dispose it somewhere, maybe near the nearby land, or suppose if it is entering into the water bodies, it is toxic to the aquatic environments also, or to the soil also. So in that way also, these are some of the common properties of the domestic hazardous waste. Now, very interesting. We must be thinking that what all does it cover? What does it have? There are certain examples which I have just given you. Look at the household cleaners. The number one, the cleaners which you use to clean the glass in your homes, or you use some definitely to get rid of the mosquitoes and flies. We use certain floor cleaners, which contains the toxic substances. For cleaning our various electronic appliances also, we have certain solutions which we use. So all the types of cleaners, the household cleaners, whether it is floor cleaner, bathroom cleaner, glass cleaner, oven cleaner, all these come into the category of the domestic hazardous waste. Then automobile, the fluids, the products. For example, we have the oil in our automobiles. We have different types of additives. We have starter fluids. Now, this is related to the automobile sector. Now, you must be wondering that it is a different sector and we are not exposed to it directly, but it is also coming into the category of the household waste also, because normally people are exposed to these fluids and all. The fluid which is filled in the automobiles, or you can say different antifreeze which is used, that comes into this. Then we have painting supplies. Wherever there is a paint work going on, you love the smell of the paint. It contains various aldehydes and ketones and acetones and all that. When we paint, for example, the doors, the window panels, this type of work, all the types of painting supplies will come into this category. And if the residual part is left as it is, if it is thrown as such, if you are exposed to it, so in the paint also there are different types of it. For example, there is a paint which is a concentrate, then you add certain additive, then you add certain elements to for the luster of the paint, then you add certain element to so that it dries very easily. So there are different coagulants, different types of dyes. For example, turpentine oil, different types of solvents are added to it and people are exposed to it. Then household insecticides, the various types of insecticides are used. For example, we use certain sprays to kill our pests like cockroaches, rats, lizards. Different types of these things are used to get rid of the paste and other agents which we do not want in a house. That also exposes us. Then flammable products, like we have the gas cylinders in a home, lighter fluid, shoe polish is also one of the important factor, which is one of the important example. Then we have indoor pesticides like ant sprays. Just now we were referring to, and one of the important factor in the miscellaneous category, we have the mercury thermometers and the cosmetics, the different the type of the cosmetics which we are using, and we are discarding them as such with the other types of the waste. That is a major category of the domestic hazardous waste. So when you look into this, definitely in one or the other categories you will find something which you have come across. You must have thrown also, and you must have seen that sometimes there's a huge amount of these type of waste which is being generated in our homes. So if you broadly look into the categories, it is either coming from the manufacturing sources, from where does it come, whether it is manufactured, or from the user end. So when we talk about the domestic hazardous waste in our households, it is basically at the household level. So according to the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0, there are 4 categories which have been decided. You must have seen when the waste collector comes, there is a dry wet waste, sanitary waste, and domestic hazardous waste, which is Gharelu Apshisht. There's a black box which is designated for it, and the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 mandates the segregation of the waste in 4 categories. So that is why looking into the urgency, looking into the importance of the segregation, it is very important for you also to understand that you collect it separately. All the cosmetics, all the insect repellents, all the types of fluids which you are using in your homes, please when you dispose them, do not mix it. Keep it separate and give it to the person who is collecting them and keeping it separately. And One of the important thing is that, as it has been told earlier also, they may not appear to be generated in huge amounts. Sometimes you may also think that these type of waste, they are not generated in the rural areas as such. They are mainly the sources, the urban areas, the industrial areas. But the fact is that they are released or they are generated in the lesser amounts. But most importantly, it is that their nature and the composition and their toxicity is such that it poses great risk. And definitely you must have heard about various cases where the gas leakages are happening, or sometimes people fell unconscious because of the overexposure to these chemicals. This has been particularly quite a concern for the infants, for the children, for the elderly, or those people who have certain kind of allergies, asthmatics, or some other type of morbidity. This is very important to take care of this time. So daily generation of according to the latest figures, the domestic hazardous waste in India could range from approximately 1600 to 6,401 tons. It is around 1 to 4% of the municipal solid waste. So that is why it appears to be very less, but has a more effects. Globally, it is 2/3 of the waste generated, and cities like Mumbai and Delhi have shown an increase of roughly 50% in municipal waste generation in these last decade. So it is increasing day by day with our overexposure, with our all these things which are manufactured, which are meant for protection, actually contain various toxic substances, and therefore they are readily available in the market. We have been buying them, we have been using them, and we are exposing ourselves, and then we are throwing it carelessly. That is why it is posing threat to the environment also. So therefore it is also becoming a huge concern. So and what does it do? It is, learners, this is also very important for you to understand, because why we are thinking so much about domestic hazardous waste is that it is having a local and a systemic effect. There are certain cases you must have seen that, you come across a toxic spillage, for example, and you may get cut, you may get burns. These type of things, they are the local effects. Immediately you will get exposed to, you will get the effect out of it, and the cure is possible. But over the long period of time, suppose we are exposed to these chemicals, and therefore people who are working in the paint industry, people who are working in the textile industry, all these types of the workers who are exposed, they experience severe health related problems. They also have the cardiovascular problems, neurological disorders, insomnia, hypertension. These are very common diseases which are occurring. So even if they are there, if there is incidence of these type of toxins being released, and if at our homes also, if we are using a particular type of insect repellent for a long period of time, or if we are exposing ourselves too much of the cleaners of these things we are using without wearing mask, without protecting ourselves, then slowly and slowly, because the different the household cleaners also, they also, when their job is using these chemicals and they are exposing themselves over a long period of time, they also have been found to be suffering from various types of diseases. So they have the local as well as the systemic effects, and inhaling is the most common route, because naturally you're not going to ingest it. It is not going into the food or the water streams, but most of it is ingested and it is there in your environment. We are not even aware of it. For example, various types of mosquito repellents we are using, because the practice should be using the traditional things. We used to use neem, we used to use different type of natural methods of cleaning our homes also. Various types of various home remedies, I must say. Various kitchen ingredients were used earlier to clean the appliances, the floors and everything. But nowadays we have relied ourselves so much on the external, the things which are available in the market. So therefore what is happening is that inhalation is the most common route. We inhale it. It is going into our bodies because it is there in the air. So therefore this is the most toxic route. So how actually what happens, how we throw it away, that is also very interesting. at our homes or in the larger sections or the societies or in commercial places, what you find is that either it goes into the trash. For example, you have a ink bottle, suppose we are using, that is also carcinogenic, that is also a domestic hazardous waste. And what you do is that it is going into the trash as such. When it goes into the trash, it mixes with the municipal solid waste, it mixes with the biodegradable, recyclable part, and it spreads the toxins elsewhere also. So, all the heavy metals, all the radioactive substances, all the harmful chemicals which are there in that are now everywhere. And the route is now like it is going into the landfills and the soil and everywhere, and it is entering into the food chain. Then it is, if many a times it is left as such, maybe segregated, but it is on the land only. You segregate the domestic hazardous waste, but likewise, many times you must have seen where the lot of construction work is going on. At that places you will find paints and empty boxes and various types of oils. Everything is dumped as such on the land. So it seepages into the groundwater also, it reduces the fertility of the soil, it impacts the whole ecosystem of that region. And one of the important example of this kind is marble slurry. Although it is not coming under the domestic hazardous waste, but it is also dumped like that only, and it has a far-reaching consequences. These are the two methods. Thirdly, the third method is it may be in the drains, and you must have seen the pictures of the industrial effluent, which is totally black, contains various harmful substances, it contains the heavy metals, and as such it is entering into the water bodies without any treatment, without any measure being taken. So this is the third way by virtue of which the domestic hazardous waste goes into the environment. So that is why this I am repeating that this you must remember that four-way segregation is very important. Wet waste comprises of all the biodegradable waste, which is wet, which is your kitchen waste. Then the dry waste comprises of all the recyclables which are coming out, which contains the paper and the glass and various metals and all that. Then we have the black color. As I told you, it should be kept separately, and all the domestic hazardous waste which is coming out from our homes mainly should come under this, and red color is for sanitary. So therefore, that I told you, SBM 2.0 has initiated this thing, and it has made it mandatory that every household in the country, every gated community, every society, every institution, organization, every commercial place should have this four-way segregation of the waste possible. And then the question most important is then how to dispose it. It should be landfilled with due care so that it does not leak out. In certain cases, we can incinerate it, burning at high temperatures, at high pressure, and checking that the effluents and the effusions are not released into the environment. Because in any case, the domestic hazardous waste should not be mixed with the municipal waste. That care should be taken. So it must be burnt independently, not with other types of waste, for example, biomedical and all that. And proper care must be taken. So we can either landfill it, we can either incinerate it, we can either co-compost it. Co-composting means because these type of, for example, the pesticides, or you can say the different type of other cleaning agents, they contain various types of elements which may be good for the soil. So co-composting means removing of the toxic substances through certain measures, and the residual part can be used in the agriculture. So all these type of techniques, they are very advanced stage, and we have to explore more, and all this is possible only when we have segregated the waste. And most importantly, we need measures. We need regulatory measures on the part of the government policies, the rules, regulations. The compliance part of it should be properly taken care of. We have to operate it. If we do not have the four-way segregation dustbins, if we do not have any effective transportation, we do not have site where the incineration and the disposal will be done, then it becomes difficult. And behavioral, that is very important, that are we aware Do we know what is domestic hazardous waste? It is there in our homes. Are we collecting it separately, or are we making any effort for the participation? And with this, we have a lot of challenges. It is very important that there are challenges in this way. It is not an easy task because people are not aware. But anyway, in this session today, we have learnt about domestic hazardous waste, and we all must come forward to see and to identify. First stage is identification and make measures for its optimum disposal. Thank you. Thank you so much.